Yo, welcome to the North Carolina YouTube. Today, we're going to be doing a way too early tier list for the Lost Origin meta. So I haven't been streaming much, and I know my YouTube content, I haven't put out any gameplay videos or anything like that recently, but I have been playing quite a bit of PTCGO, while watching the newborn. You're kind of sitting there with your tablet, and in some games I'm kind of paying half attention, but we're still grinding a lot of games. So I feel like I've got a pretty good idea based off of early lists where some of the decks are. So let's go ahead and go through a basic. We're not going to rank all of these, and I'll have the link down below for the tier list maker. So if you'd like to make your own, feel free to join the Discord, also link down below, and share it. I'm happy to discuss in the comments what you disagree with, because I know people are going to disagree with stuff because we all have different lists at this point, and the things you're trying might be better than the things that I'm trying, and that's totally fine. Let's go and run through this. Some of them, they're not going to get any explanation. And we're going to start from the left. Aerodactyl, I think that card sucks. Agrons, it's an Arceus deck. Part of me is just like, Arceus is always going to go in tier 2. I can't imagine it being much worse than that. Arceus is one of those things that's just like, it just makes everything good, and Agron's technically good. So Arceus Aggron, it's like low tier 2 in that it's just better stuff. Arcanine, I'm going to put Arcanine tier 2. Arcanine's been one of my favorite decks. I played by far the most amount of it. If I can figure out a way to get the opening hands more consistent, I think I would bring it to regionals in this format for sure. The problem is sometimes you get really bad opening hands and the comeback for the deck is not quite good enough. But once you're kind of going, you're going, your opponent tries to boss stuff to mess you up, or they Marnie you to mess you up. And none of that works once your deck is set up. So I'll have a YouTube video with some gameplay and my current list in the near future. You can also check out my Twitch VOD where I played a couple of games of Arcanine before switching off to some other stuff, because there's a lot of stuff going on. Arczard, I'm gonna put these tiers aren't going to be ordered. I think it's a little too much work, but we'll throw them around where we can. There we go. Okay, that sounds about right. I think it's a good deck. Arc Intel, I'm going to put it in tier 2. It's like the top of tier 2. I hate tier 1.5 with a passion, but I think this would be my tier 1.5 deck. This is one that I'm kind of like, but Giratina exists and is good. This it's somewhere in between here. It's either the bottom of tier 1 or the top of tier 2. It's very meta dependent. I think there's too much Giratina around right now for it to be tier 1, but the deck is really good. And as some of the other stuff is coming out that is looking okay, stuff like Reggie's, you pack your Dunsparce and a Rod, you're probably fine. Stuff like the Baby Lost Zone box where nothing OHKOs and they're trying to poke you with Cramorants and Sableye. These are so good. And then like Flying Pika is obviously a very good deck, but it has a bad Arc Intel matchup. So it's tier 2, and I really want to put it, screw it. We're putting it in tier 1. I'm calling it. Yell at me in the comment section how much you hate that. Jolteon is to be, I think, the worst version of Arceus currently. I know it got second at Worlds. Worlds Day 2 is a very different meta. If you listen to the meta discussion for the Baltimore Regionals with Piper and Grant on the last Lake of Rage podcast, go check that out. It was the last video I uploaded. We talked about how the Day 2 meta made Jolteon very good. I don't think Jolteon is worth the spots right now, especially with the Lost Zone engine. You shut off Cramorant. Super cool. It's not, you're not going to do that many slots to shut off a Cramorant. It's a cool card. It's really good, but it's not that good. I'm just going to ignore this one. Just play this instead. Speaking of which, that is literally the BDIF. Palkia doesn't go anywhere. I'm sorry for everyone, but if you're a Palkia main, keep playing Palkia. Peoria, Salt Lake City, still the best deck in the format. Just make a couple changes for the meta. Boom, you're good to go. Dialga, I'm gonna put Dialga in tier 3. I want it to be good. It's fun, but it's not good, and it just gets worse now that we have another thing in the format that can OHKO you, and the Baby Lost Zone box is playing Radiant Zard, which can, again, OHKO you. So it's not that good. Darkrai, it's tier 4. It's not like terrible, but meh. I'm gonna put Reggie's at the top of tier 2. Actually, Reggie's is very good right now. Whether you're playing the Thornton and the Amazing Rare Yveltal or not, cool. I mean, they're both good. They're both very good. I think the only thing Reggie is afraid of is people respecting Reggie. People respect Reggie. Lost City, which I put at number 3 for my best card in the set. I think Lost City is going to go down as one of the best stadium cards ever printed. But if Lost City gets thrown into Mew and any Lost Zone decks and really anything else, Reggie suddenly loses to any of those decks because they KO2 Regice or whatever. boom, you're out of them. You can no longer accelerate. You can take 5 prize cards, but you're not going to be able to take that 6th prize card. So Reggie's tier 2 just because it can be countered. But if there's a format where Reggie's going to win a regional, I think this is the format because people are going to not respect it at some point. Beedrill, unfortunately, Beedrill's not super good. It's going to go in the generic Arceus stuff. Blissey Miltank, it's definitely a deck of cards. Whimsicott, don't play this. I'm going to put this here too, not because it's bad, but because just play this one instead. I think it's better. Durant, I'm sorry, Durant players. This one hurts me. I played this deck at Worlds. I would be playing this at Baltimore. I think it's currently in the pre-Lost Origin format. I actually think it's a tier 1 deck. In the Lost Origin format, it's tier 3. There's better uses of Charizard, such as in Arceus or with the Lost Zone engine, which we've got right here as our next one. But everything I said about Reggie's is even worse for Radiant Charizard. If people respect Reggie's and play a single Lost City, Radiant Charizard's absolutely unplayable, and that's the issue. Mew is a very good matchup currently for Radiant Zard. The Lost Origin format, Mew should be playing Lost City because I think it's just good. You don't care if something goes in the discard pile because whatever. Or sorry, in the Lost Zone because it's whatever for me, right? So they can beat these single prizers now with Lost City, and that includes Radiant Charizard. Single prize, Lost Zone deck. I'm going to put it, I think it's a step below Reggie's. I think Reggie is currently the premier single prize deck. Look, I didn't think I was going to be saying that until fairly recently, but they got Gift Energy and they got Thornton, which is kind of cute. So in a regional where people aren't expecting it, you can Thornton out something and suddenly boom, kind of broken. But I think it is the second best of the single prize decks. Now you may be saying, Mello, those decks suck because I play, oh my gosh, the Penguin. Bro, what's the freaking Penguin called? Empoleon. Cool. That is a tech. That's why they're tier 2 and not tier 1. Lost City and Empoleon. Now, this deck can beat Empoleon a little bit easier than Reggie's can beat Empoleon because this deck, after you're set up, you're kind of fine. Like, yeah, it shuts off the Cram and it shuts off the Comfey, but after a while, you're like, well, I've got Zards, I've got Sableye, and I'm not a big deal at all. Because at a certain point, you're just like, okay, cool. You have an Empoleon in the active. I'm going to Mirage Gate to my Charizard, knock it out. Thanks for the 2 free prizes. So cool decks there. I think when an Empoleon meta, this is ahead of Reggie's. In a blind meta, I think Reggie's is just a better deck in general. Rapid Mally, it's, I put it below Dialga. It's about there. It's not bad. I wouldn't be shocked to see them in day 2, clicking on a Limitless page for any of the upcoming regionals, being like, hey, that is definitely a deck of cards. One of the things that hurts it, Sableye is a thing. Radiant Greninja is a thing. And Lost Zone Box can play both of those, and that's kind of terrifying. So the fact that you have so much spread on 50 HP Inkays and 60 HP Sobbles, it's a good deck still, but depending on the direction they're going to go, it is very meh into the meta when you already count it's having a hard time. Eternatus, no. Deoxys, that card even come out? Don't play it because it's not standard legal. Fish, I think Fish is tier 3. This deck seems cool when I played it. Arctura, I think this is a step ahead of a lot of these. I think Arceus Duraludon's good. I'm one of the few believers in Arctura. Yell at me in the comment section. I think it's good. I think Arctura is the deck. If you're going to Peoria or Salt Lake City and you don't think you can outplay most people, I think Arctura is the deck to bring. Now, if you think you can outplay them, you can still play Arctura. There's a lot of skill expression in it, but it's also just a blatantly powerful deck. The issue is, and the reason you see top players putting it down a lot, is because there's not that much you can do outside of simply following the game plan. But you follow that game plan well, it's a really good deck. Now, a better player is going to do better than a worse player with the deck, and that's why I said there is skill expression with the deck. But if you're like, I'm not picking the Lost Zone engine fast enough, you're a newer player, and you're like, I really want to do well, and I don't think I can beat the... Pick up Arctura. The deck is just incredibly powerful. Consistency is its main issue. It won Worlds. The fact that these decks are very good, make Pika very good, Four Marnies very good. I think it's still below Arc Intel. Arc Intel going into this first regional of Peoria might just be in a good spot because no one respects it. And it beats a lot of suboptimal lists. And there's going to be a lot of suboptimal lists early in the format. Waterbox, this hurts my soul. It's tier 4. Mew. Number 2, I think Lost City, now making Reggie's a good matchup and other single prize non-Inteleon stuff a good matchup. Heck, Mew is good. Mew is very good. Gengar, no. I'm trying to see, is there a second Giratina on here? There is not. Giratina is... I think I prefer Lost Zone decks currently with a small Giratina line over ones that are purely babies. This is one where when we come back to it later in the format, there's a very high probability Tina's lower. But as of right now, I'm enjoying having the Tina option a little more. I'm personally on the 2-2 line, 2 Crams, a Sableye. It's feeling really good. I keep telling people I think Giratina Lost Zone is going to end up looking like Pikarom from the team up format. Anyone who played back then, a bunch of Zapdos. You had your peak as your like big thing, but your early game, you know, you got your Drachis, which are Comfeys now. You've got your Zapdos, which are Cramorants now. And these things are just kind of, you're fast, you're aggressive early, and then suddenly, okay, you're forcing your opponent to play off top, or like you're forcing your opponent to play a little awkwardly because they're like, oh, they're going really fast, they're killing my engine. Oh no, you know, they're setting up. And then suddenly, boom, you got your Giratina, you power it up, and now you're OHKOing stuff. And you're like, all right, I've got this big thing out here now. And that's how I think the Giratina deck has to play. I think we're leaning into Giratina a little too much in the current meta. And I think there's something there with a thin Giratina line and a lot of single prizers where you kind of make it really awkward for them. But unlike the other decks, such as this one, you have the just big, heavy hitter that makes things like a Roxanne path a little less bad for you, or it makes like an Empoleon a little less bad for you. I did just say Empoleon doesn't really affect the deck that much, but it really doesn't affect Giratina because they can KO anything and everything. So I love that deck personally. Goodra, Goo Guy. If you're playing Omnipoke's list, I'm going to shout out Omnipoke, another YouTuber. I think it's a very, very good deck. I think it is right about here. I think Arctura's better. Is this the only Goo Guy here? I actually think Fantina's not that good in the deck because you don't really draw it. I think straight consistency, you go fast, you're swinging for 200, you're super thick, you heal yourself at one point, you're like, all right, now what you gonna do, coward? So I think it's a very good deck. A good Goodra list might make its way up. Problem with Goodra, Mew is good, Tina's good. You can beat Palkia, but Palkia is really fast, and so you can't miss a beat. And the Goo Guy hitting for 200 is so bad. You got to find those belts, and you've got to find your Mirage Gates. And as I've been playing it, like I said, I think it's good, but I'm seeing the weaknesses as I play it. So even though my opponents aren't identifying the weaknesses with the deck, I'm identifying them as I play them. And I'm going to say my win percentage is a little inflated with the deck, and I think it's very good. It's tier 2. Like if you're like, Mello, I'm bringing Goodra to Peoria, you can day 2, you can top cut. It is a very good deck, but I think it's not quite as good as Tina. Arceus Gyarados goes in the Arceus pile. Is Kyurem on here? I didn't make this tier list. Okay. This thing is tier 3. Kyurem Palkia is tier 2. Kyurem VMAX is... Oh, there is Kyurem. Tremendous. We're going to put this in tier... We'll put it at the bottom of tier 2, actually. Ice Rider is still good. It OHKO stuff. A lot of single prizers make it a little more awkward. Kyurem, on the other hand, is gonna come up. I think Kyurem's better than Goo Guy. I think it's better here, somewhere over here. I think Kyurem's really, really good. The best thing about Kyurem is people were like, oh, it's so high maintenance, but the ability works with Oranguru. And we'd be like, oh yeah, but that's like, no, you have to play Oranguru. You're like, no, you get to play Oranguru. Primate Wisdom is one of the best abilities in the game. Essentially, let's look at it this way. If you have a water energy in your hand, Oranguru and a Kyurem, you're saying draw a card and attach an energy. That is what this is. That's ridiculous. If I told you there was a card that's ability was draw a card and attach one energy from hand, that's broken. That's tier S. It's not one card, it's 2, and that's why it's in tier 2, but that's really powerful. That combo is disgusting. You're thinning the deck, you're attaching energy, you're seeing more cards. Super good. Intel? I don't know. I always want to think Intel's good. It's not. Blissey should be higher. Let's give some love to the Bliss. This is definitely a deck of cards. It's ahead of Waterbox for sure. Is it better than Swim Freely, actually? Monotone might be better than Swim Freely, and I don't want to say that's true. Sure, go there. There's an Arceus here. Why are there 2 of them? Whatever. Arceus pile. More Arceus pile. More Arceus pile. Mewtwo Luna Rock. Now with Thornton, this is actually potentially a playable combo, right? I think it's worse though. Control. So another reason I like Giratina is if Control shows up, I think Control's pretty good. I'd put Control. Control's better than most of the Arceus piles. I do think Aggron's the best of the Arceus piles. I would put Control pretty high up here, and the Giratina helps a lot against the Control. Control, pretty good Palkia matchup. Potentially good Arc Intel match, depending on what the lists look like. If people are keeping the Crobat out, it's got a very good matchup into Arc Pika. The Mew matchup, depending on the Control list, is either good or not. Obviously, if I were going to play Control in any of the upcoming regionals, I'd be teching for Mew, the Veltals, the Flanneries, you know, all that cool stuff, right? Inteleon, single prizers, it's better than Charizard. That's about it. Rotom, trash. Samurott, God, this sucks. Samurott's trash. I don't want to say that. Lawson, Reshiram, it's a cool deck. Well, there. Let's go up there. It's pretty cool. Single strike. Sorry to everyone who bought the single strike thing. It's not that good. Stone Guy. Stone Guy depends on Tina also. If Tina's showing up, it hits too hard for Stone Guy to consistently heal. I think I'll put it high in tier 3. I'm going to the top tier 3. Stuff hits a little too hard, but it's not bad. You're going to see Stonejourner do well in some online tournaments because the online meta and online play is kind of weird, but it's good. It's not that good, but it's good. Top of tier 3. Tier 3 is not bad. This is whatever. Arceus pile. More Arceus pile. Nothing's bad with Arceus. All right, here's the hot take. This thing, freaking nuts. Top of tier 2, gonna be tier 1. I'm pretty sure. I'm not confident to say that quite yet because I haven't played enough with it. It's not seeing the results. Urshifu is really good. Drapion adds a lot. Thornton adds a lot. You suddenly short up your Mew matchup. Palkia playing Thornton is a bit of an issue. One of the ways you could win that matchup is once you KO the Manaphy, like you could chase down the Manaphy early if your opponent didn't show Rod. Most people didn't play Rod. Most people didn't play Nessa. So you chase down the Manaphy early and you just run over them with zero issue. Now with Thornton, they get the Manaphy back whenever they want to. If you take out the Ninja early, you can no longer pick up your Manaphy to get that bench spot back because that was something else that you could potentially do in some of the games. They play Canceling Cologne. So I think Ursh is about tier 2. I'm calling it that it will make its way into tier 1 by the end of the format. Vikavolt, it's technically a deck. Wheezing, it's going to go down here, below Jolt Guy. Zacian, don't play it. That's not a legal card. The heck is this? Pretty sure that's not a legal card either. Zoroark. Yo, why is this thing down so far? Zoroark V-Star. It's one of these 3. No, it's here. I'll put Zoroark. Gosh, I really like Duraludon and Goodra. Okay. I know I'd put Zoroark down a lot there, but I think Zoroark is very good still. Just about everything in tier 2 is a very good deck, actually. The more I think about the Arceus stuff, it's like I want to move it down, but also Arceus is really good, so I shouldn't move it down. But I think there is a clear distinction below Mewtwo. And let's go ahead and make it. You know what? Let's do this. Add a row below. I originally was like, no, this is going to be fine. But now that I've actually done it. Suboptimal Arceus. There we go. Okay. Correct order. This one. 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 No, that'll stay there. Okay. This is like the tier 2.5 is stupid, but this is just our pile of suboptimal Arceus lists. It's better than any of these. If you're going to play any of these at a regional, you can do really well. They're very good. Arceus is a very good card at the right time and the right matchups. These could be the better partners. But in the meantime, I think these are just better decks in general. So suboptimal Arceus is like tier 2.5, quote unquote, but not really because tier 2.5 is kind of stupid. Zoroark, don't play it. Zoroark's literally just bad. Arcanine. Arcanine should have Zoroark. If you're playing Arcanine and you don't have the Zoroark Slowbro package, you're playing a really bad deck. Again, you'll see the list once I make the video in the next couple of days or something like that. It should be out tomorrow when you're watching this. But anyway, here's the tier list. Like I said, I think tier 1, any of these are very, very, very powerful decks. I wouldn't expect a ton of change as the meta progresses. Stuff that could come up, this thing could become tier 1. Either of these two lists could be figured out and become tier 1 as well. Reggie's will be tier 1 at a tournament, but I don't think overall in the meta it's a tier 1 deck. Kyurem, I think Kyurem's just slightly worse than Palkia, but it is very, very powerful, and it has strengths again in other metas. Like I was testing out Rapid Urshifu the other day. I went turn 2 Gale Thrust. I went first, turn 2 Gale Thrust into my opponent's, I think that a Kyurem active, Kyurem V. They proceeded to OHKO my Urshifu VMAX after starting the turn with a single energy on their Kyurem. And they just absolutely popped off, did the Melanie, did the ability, did the attach, did another ability, and it was like, oh, that's terrifying. So in certain metas, I think Kyurem is better than Palkia, and that's another reason why stuff like Control's down here, Stone Guy is down here. Kyurem feasts on those. Dura, Goo, I think I'm higher on Dura than most people are. Goo Guy and Zoroark are also very good. And then some other stuff. I'm probably higher on this than I should be, but I absolutely love the deck. Let me know in the comment section what you disagree with, because I know people will, because we're still very early in the format and our testing is looking different because our lists are looking different. The people we hit on ladder look different. Like I said, my Goodra win rate should be significantly higher. My Goodra win rate's higher than my Giratina win rate, but I don't think that's correct. So like I said, playing Giratina, I feel like I'm in control and making mistakes. Playing Goodra, I feel like my opponent's making mistakes. And that's why I put Goodra lower than Giratina currently. And Zoroark, I think Zoroark has a ton of options and abilities, but it's like, what is the build for the specific meta? I think there's a lot of room for Zoroark to play with, and the current lists are going out there right now. I think I'd rather play Goo Guy. I'd rather play Kyurem. Honestly, I'd rather play Arcanine, but that's me. Anyway, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all the other YouTube stuff. Check out the Twitter, check out the Discord, link down below. Feel free to share your thoughts in the Discord as well. I am very active in the Discord personally. I enjoy checking it. I enjoy talking Pokemon a lot. That's one of the reasons why I've got the Discord, is just I will reply to a lot of things. There's plenty of helpful people that will reply to things in there as well. So if you ever wanted to DM me and you're too afraid, join the Discord and just post in there, and we will chat with a bunch of people about Pokemon trading card game. And I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.